Hey everybody, it's Mike Vardy here from Productivityist. Thanks for joining me today. I'm jumping on a little bit early so that way we can get the party started or the wake started maybe. I'm not really sure but you're going to need some of this. I'm going to need some of this. I'll be taking some water breaks probably during the slideshow. And since people are already here, let's get to hear who is in the chat right now. What I want you to do is just introduce yourself and say where your name and where you're from. And I'd love to see who's all in here right now because we're going to get started in about 4 minutes, but I figure might as well get the warm up going on now. Thanks, Jeff, for chiming in. And yeah, hey, Craig from Florida. There we go. Louisa from Portugal. Elizabeth, you're coming from Maryland. That's great. Milos from Serbia. That's awesome. And I will say that as people come in and if you have questions, I want you to make sure that you throw the questions in the questions area at the bottom of the webinar area. So you'll see there's polls and there's offers and there is questions. There will be, there we go. So yeah, just throw questions in there and I will answer them as I go. I am running this solo today. So my, because it's a Friday here, my assistant Claire, it's Saturday where she is, so she's not on today. And this was kind of an impromptu thing because of the news that Microsoft and Wunderlist announced this week. So I decided to do this on my own. So you're going to bear with me. I do have some slides to show, and we'll do some screen sharing and stuff. But if it takes me a while to get to your questions, that's why I've got the whole hour at the end there. So we got Chris from Williamsville, Illinois. We got Jeff, host of the podcast Brief from the Great Lakes State, Michigan. Hans is from Detroit. Got some people chiming in here. If you're just getting in here, introduce yourself in the chat. What we're going to go over today is kind of the how to walk away from Wunderlist if you want to. That's the thing. Some people aren't going to necessarily want to. I'm going to go over to do today a little bit. I'm going to show you the differences. We won't be going over the mobile edition. I'm sticking strictly with the web edition because it's ubiquitous. It can be used for a bunch of people. Bruce, thanks for joining us. Jennifer from Illinois, great. Leanne from Raleigh, awesome. The reason is because the web will all be using. Some of us are going to be Android users, some of us are going to be iPhone users or iOS users, although as of right now, To-Do is not really working, or it's not, I wouldn't say it's not working, but it's not been designed for tablets as of yet. Oscar from Oscar. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I used to talk a lot about apps, more so than before. I don't really talk about apps all that much anymore because they move so quickly. They evolve so quickly. We wrote that Do Better with Asana book, Jeremy and I, and within 6 weeks of us releasing it, they redesigned the whole UI. So it's very tough to keep up with them. But when something like this happens, a webinar makes sense. So at the end, I'll ask you if you want me to keep doing webinars like this. Craig, if your video went weird, just try jumping on. That's kind of strange. Is ever anyone else having issues? If you are, just let me know in the chat. The question area is not the best place for that. Now, if you are on any browser other than Chrome, you need to be using Google Chrome for this, okay? Safari won't work. Neither will. You might have to refresh, guys. That's really strange because the broadcast is still clicking here. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Chris. So if you refresh, it'll come back. I will tell you that Webinar Ninja is making some changes as well. So I can't tell you too much about it, but the reason I'm with Webinar Ninja, I've been using them for a long time, is they are dedicated to making this platform better and better and better. So keep that in mind. That's why I'm using it. I'm not using any other platform. As much as I like Zoom, I'm not going to use Zoom for webinars. I use it for coaching. But Webinar Ninja is what I'm going to be using for webinars. So if you are on here live and you're not using Chrome on your desktop or laptop, not on the tablet, at least until some changes are made, with which I know they're working on, then you'll have to go into Chrome as well, okay? You will be able to watch the replay in whatever device you choose. But because of the technology of WebRTC and how Webinar Ninja is constructed, desktop or laptop with Google Chrome is the way to work. Michael from Iowa, great. Craig, that's awesome. You use it. I love Webinar Ninja. I've been a big fan for years. Love Omar and the gang. So we're going to get started because I am a time management guy. So I want to definitely get started on time. Jordan, Thanks for joining me from Vancouver. So for all of you that are here, thanks so much for joining. For all of you that are watching the replay, thanks for joining me. I was going to call this Awake for Wunderlist, but that's a bit overwrought. You know, I didn't want to call it that. So Wunderlist is not dead yet. Wunderlist is still a very, very good task management application, but the writing has been on the wall for a while since Microsoft acquired it. So I wanted to put this together. And again, as I was saying, by the way, anyone who's showing up again, please introduce yourself in the chat. The problem with being acquired by a large company or even a small one is that often the product gets sunsetted or retired. And Wunderlist has such a massive user base. I believe around in the millions. Like it, you know, and remember that's total signed up users, not necessarily active users. But it's such a popular to-do list app. In fact, so much so that Steve Dotto and I chose it as one of the 4 we focused on in Task Apps Made Easy, a product we made a couple of years ago. We're going to have to revise that one now because Wunderlist is changing. When it was acquired, when Six Wunderkinder was acquired by Microsoft, I've seen this before. I know what happens. It happened with Sunrise when Microsoft acquired it, and Sunrise has now been absorbed into Outlook, specifically for iOS initially. I haven't kept up with it since then, but it's gone. And Sunrise was such a really cool calendar app that a lot of people really loved. I'm sure some of you that are here right now, either watching live or on the replay, used it. When Astrid was bought by Yahoo, Astrid was up and coming. It was an app that people really enjoyed. Daniel, thanks for joining me from Germany. Dominic, excellent, from Switzerland. We got people from all over the globe joining us today. So Astrid was acquired by Yahoo, and that was more of a team acquisition. They weren't really necessarily interested in the product, but just the people building the product. We see this all the time. When I worked for The Next Web and Cult of Mac, we saw apps come and go, startups come and go. And when Wunderlist got acquired by Microsoft and Six Wunderkinder joined them, I had a feeling that at some point something like this was going to happen. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. The reason that I figured this was going to happen is because Microsoft's Outlook tasks definitely isn't as robust as a lot of the other task management solutions out there. Anyone who uses Outlook tasks, you could do some stuff with it, but you really gotta you gotta manually you kind of jerry rig it in a lot of ways to make it a palatable project management tool. Wunderlist, you don't have to do that. Wunderlist has scaled beautifully over the years, adding things like project folders, things like that, tagging, all that stuff that they've added over the years. And now they added, of course, that intelligent AI that helps you with the My Day, but that was more rolled into the To-Do app, which we're going to see a little bit of here. Microsoft rolls out To-Do yesterday and in preview mode. And immediately we started looking at it. I started looking at it. Others started looking at it, and we saw that it was lacking. And the people that saw this the most are the active users. Now, I'm not an active Wunderlist user. I have an account. You'll see that I have some stuff in it. I use it often to do demos and things like that. But I know how Wunderlist operates. I know a lot of what the feature sets are. And when I saw some of the features that were missing, and we're going to get to that in a second, I knew that this was something that I wanted to do, because I've seen too many times with tools like SpringPad and Sunrise where users are left in the lurch. And while Wunderlist isn't going away yet, Microsoft has said that they will retire the product. No new features are being added, any of that stuff. So if you are looking if you don't want to wait until To-Do hits the level that Wunderlist is at, and even earlier, shortly after I said I was going to do this thing, Wunderlist on Twitter, we had a bit of an exchange, not a friendly one, but they said, what features are missing? I told them what I thought was missing. They said, well, we're definitely adding one of them and we'll put the other ones on the list. And I know they have a features list a mile long now from existing users. So if you're willing to wait until To-Do catches up, that's fine. Who knows how long that will be? And who knows if Wunderlist will be retired before To-Do catches up. That's another thing. Remember, Microsoft has said when they feel that To-Do is good enough or ready, then they will retire. They will just get rid of Wunderlist altogether. I don't want you to get stuck. If you're ready to move on or you want to be prepared and be proactive about it, that's what this webinar is here to do today. So again, if you have questions, you put them in the bottom area of and remember, I'm going to dedicate an hour up to an hour. If you guys don't want to stick around for an hour, that's fine. But I know when these kind of situations happen, I want to help you guys out as personally as I can. Think of this as like an hour long of like a group coaching session for like everybody that you're getting for free. And I'm not offering anything at the end. We're just here to help. I'm just here to help you today. So you're not going to see like, hey, here's a thing. I just want to help you. So if you have any questions, put them in the questions area. I will get to them as soon as I'm done the presentation. And also chat stuff just strictly for communicating back and forth. Let's use it for that. I may throw a poll in there later on, but I won't be doing that until the Q&A area. But right now I want to just jump in and start to share this presentation with you that I built. So bear with me as I do this. So I am on my own with this right now. So here we go. All right. So this webinar is called How to Walk Away from Wunderlist and Never Look Back. So why I'm doing this webinar today, I've kind of gone over that in a lot of ways. And the reason I'm doing it is because I don't want any users that are using this. And actually, hold on one second. I need to make this full screen. That's one thing I need to do first. So bear with me. That's one thing I forgot to do. There we go. Whoa. All right. Let's try that again. So screen share, we'll go here, play. There we go. You should be able to see everything clearly now. Now, if you can't, I will have the slides attached as a PDF that people can view at a later date for those of you who signed up. So if you have problems seeing it, just let me know in the chat room, and then I will make sure that I share the slides with you. But more or less, the demo stuff is going to be what we want to pay attention to. So why I'm doing this webinar today is simple. I've seen this happen before. I don't want Wunderlist users to feel that they're, going to be able to use Wunderlist and then one day it's going to be gone and they don't have anything to turn to. I'm a big believer in the approach is more important than the application. We've seen so many applications come and go. I want to make sure that you can use it. You can move away from Wunderlist if you want to. Again, if you are happy staying with Microsoft and To-Do right now, go for it. But if you want to have some options available to you, that's what I'm here to provide you with today. Okay. Now, why you would be wise to leave Wunderlist today is because there is so much uncertainty around when the product will be no more. The uncertainty of what To-Do will have in terms of feature set before Wunderlist is retired. Whether or not some features just simply stop working in Wunderlist, even though Microsoft is still going to keep it active, they're not adding any more resources. And also just to be prepared to get past that learning curve of a new tool while you're able to. So it'll give you more time. It's kind of like thinking about doing your taxes, right? We just passed tax season as we're doing this webinar. And it's always better now that taxes season is done to start preparing for next year already, like organizing everything and getting ready and doing it measurably day by day. I know not many people do that. I don't even do that. I don't start the day after. But it would be better to start your taxes that much earlier, because then by the time the tax deadline rolls around, you've been proactive and you're not scrambling and you're not dealing with an accountant or bookkeepers that are swamped with people. You're ahead of the game. Same thing with apps like this. That's that learning curve. If you move to one of the apps I'm going to suggest today, or any app that you feel will work for you, I mean, I've got some alternatives that I haven't put through the paces necessarily to the same level that I've put my primary alternatives. You'd be wise to leave now, or at least start to migrate, so that way you get familiar with it, so that when you're ready, and Wunderlist does sunset and To-Do doesn't leave you with a great taste in your mouth, or it's not living up to what you hoped it would be, then you're able to move. So this is the evaluatory tool, or the evaluation tool that I use when I look at To-Do list apps. It's something I've come up with. And I used it when we talked about the in Task Apps Made Easy, when I was talking about like choosing your ideal task manager. And it's called the SOS Productivity Matrix. It's actually this SOS Productivity Tool Matrix, but I've just forgot to put the tool in there for this one. See, again, this webinar literally came to me yesterday. So this is the SOS Productivity Tool Matrix. And this is the way I evaluate to-do list apps. And it's really the way I evaluate most apps when it comes to calendars and all those things, but primarily for to-do list apps. And here's what it stands for. So the SOS Productivity Tool Matrix stands for, the first S is for simplicity. How simple is the tool to use? How clean is the interface? Is it, in all manners of speaking, when I look at an app, I want to, how close is it to what people would normally think to use for a to-do list? Is it as close to a Post-it note with to-dos on it, or paper with to-dos on it? Is it as close to a planner as possible? because that lowers the learning curve, right? That's a big part of it. Then ownership. It used to be called obviousness, but obviousness tended to fall into the simplicity aspect. But I felt ownership was a better attribute to kind of evaluate by. So how much personalizing of the tool can you do? How much can you make the tool your own? Again, we all work differently. How can we make this tool work for ourselves, even if we're working in a larger team or in a work environment? How much can we personalize the tool, no matter what platform we're using it on? Okay. And then the final one, and this one is really, really important, especially when we're talking about what we're talking about today, is how powerful is it? Will it stand the test of time? Is it durable enough to last, months and years, preferably years, into the future? And can I throw a lot at it and have it not collapse under the weight of all the stuff I'm throwing at it? Because there are tools out there. And I mean, I'll give you a great example of a tool that goes through this matrix that we're not going to discuss today. But let's say Apple Reminders. Let's use that. Sure, it's very simple. It's a reminder tool. So it would score really well on the simplicity aspect. And by the way, the score is from 0 to 100. Ownership. How much personalizing can you do? Well, you can do quite a bit of personalizing, but it does have some limitations because it is really just a list of you can change the colors and you can rename the list whatever you want. So there is some personalizing. How powerful is it? Scalability, that's where it kind of lacks. Sure, you can add automation to it through Siri and through tools like IFTTT or if this then that and then Zapier, but and there's some extensions to it, but it's not as powerful as, say, when you compare it to some of the other tools we're going to talk about. So I put all these tools through this. And by the way, it also doesn't really necessarily work too well with teams. It's getting better with that, but that'd be another thing to look at in terms of scalability. So those are the three criteria that I use. And I evaluated Wunderlist with this. So what Wunderlist offers, it offers a very clean user interface. That was one of the biggest things that I found when people were saying, hey, I want to learn more about Wunderlist. It has a very clean user interface. It has a very shallow learning curve. There's not a lot of bells and whistles that seem because the interface is so clean, it doesn't, blast a lot of unnecessary stuff at you right at the beginning. You can kind of build upon it as you go. And Wunderlist has gotten better with that over time because they added things, again, like multiple folders for projects. And they've added so much, but they did it in a way that allowed users to kind of adopt them as they needed to. And again, I believe a tool should be as simple as you want it to be, but as powerful as you need it to be. And Wunderlist built on that over the years. And then in terms of scalability, it's available on a wide variety of platforms. Mac, Windows, the web, iOS, Windows for phone. I had somebody email me today, and the name is escaping me right now, that said I could use it for Windows Phone. Pretty much every platform out there, Wunderlist offers. Okay, and so when I initially scored Wunderlist back when I was doing Task Apps Made Easy, this probably would have increased the longer that it was being developed, but it scored 100 on simplicity. It was really simple to use. Like I had people that were using it that I was showing how to use it, and they were people who had really never used a to-do list app before, at least not one that had this much power under the hood. They could get it. They could drag and drop and move around, and they understood how it worked. Ownership, that increased because of the fact that you could now have multiple folders. You could change the theme on it if you wanted to. You could, email tasks to specific area. Like there's lots of things you could do with Wunderlist. So the ownership level is high. The scalability is not as high as some of the other tools that are out there. If I'm looking at a benchmark of 100 to 0 to 100, there are other tools out there that scale better. But with subtasks, that's a definite scalability feature. With the platforms that it's available on, another great feature. When it comes to that, I think that's something to consider. So the total SOS score out of 300 was 240. That's really good. That's a good score. It scored probably with the other tools that we had about the same. It came in third place, like a tie for third, I believe, with one of the recommendations I'm going to have. Two others beat them. But again, this is a personal choice. I'm all about personal productivity. So just because something scores higher on the SOS productivity tool matrix doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the tool you want to use. And I'm going to show you why in a little bit here. So here's what To-Do offers. And I put To-Do through the paces yesterday. I'm just going to take a quick sip of water here because I've been going a mile a minute. So what To-Do offers is still a clean user interface. If you've played with it already, and I'd love to hear, and I'll put this in a poll. We'll come back to that later. But if you've already tried to do, I'd love to hear it. And you can put it in the chat and see what, tell me what you think of it so far. But it does have a very clean user interface. It's very clean. And I looked at it on iOS as well, and it's very clean there. So it's not, it definitely has adopted that mindset. And frankly, a lot of the Microsoft new Office 365 stuff, both for mobile and web, are cleaner. They definitely have removed that kind of, feel and UI that kind of pushed people towards the Mac platform for a while. It does have a shallow learning curve because, frankly, there isn't a lot to learn right now. I mean, there's not much there, in terms of, feature set when you compare it to, say, a Wunderlist or one of the other alternatives. So the learning curve is shallow. And plus, it's so new right now that you're going to see a lot of people like Matthew Gay of Zapier wrote a great comparison. And I know Francesco D'Alessio is doing a whole review of To-Do. So you're going to see a lot of people talking about it, not just in a sense of, Wunderlist users are angry, but also that, here's what To-Do can do, like the intelligent AI stuff and things like that. So it does have a shallow learning curve. But here's where it lacks already. It's not available in a wide variety of platforms. Yes, it's available for Windows. It's available for the web, which is going to do wonders for a lot of people. And it's available for Android and iOS, but not for tablets yet. Not, at least not scaled for tablets yet. I think you could probably log in but I haven't tested it. I imagine Surface will be one of the ones that it goes to first, but I haven't seen that yet. It's not available for the Mac. Again, I don't think that's a deal breaker. I honestly don't use the Mac apps for most of the web-based task managers. And the reason behind that is that the master, when it comes to the cloud, is normally the web-based version anyway. So even with tools like Evernote and other tools that I use, I tend to use the web-based version because then I know that it's kind of like the hub, and then everything kind of feeds out or syncs out from there. But still, it's missing that already. Again, it's in preview, but it's missing that already. So I want to just point that out. So right now, how To-Do scores on the SOS Productivity Tool Matrix, and I want to stress this, as of April 21st, 2017, it's still very simple. It still scales high on simplicity. In fact, it's simpler than Wunderlist right now because it has less features. Ownership, it's only a 50. It doesn't have as much to personalize. So again, I'll base this on the kind of the age of the product at this point and how the product is still taking shape. But still, this concerns me because if the ownership level of the score has already dropped, and you could see it's dropped by 30 points, what will it take to get it back to that 80? What will it take it to get it to the point where you can really personalize it? I don't know. That's a question that remains to be answered. And I don't like uncertainty when it comes to the tool that I'm using to manage my tasks, both for the day, the week, the month, and beyond, especially the important stuff that I need and want to do. Okay. And also, I want to make the tool a pleasure to use. And the less ownership you have over it, the less pleasurable it really is to use. Scalability, this is why I dropped it to a 20. And the reason I dropped to a 20 is because the scalability isn't just the amount of platforms it's available for, but the power under the hood. It's been stripped down because there are still features that are lacking. And I'm going to get to those in a minute, but that score dropped from 240 to 170. That drops it way off my list. And I mean, I don't have a rating score of where each one of the tools have scored. I probably could have put that together. Maybe I will put that together as a PDF or something. I haven't decided yet. But it's dropped. So the scalability is the big thing. Simplicity is great. And believe me, that's one of the primary things you want in a to-do list tool or a to-do app or any app really. But the scalability factor is dropped. And here's why. What To-Do is missing beyond the platforms that Wunderlist already has? Subtasks. That's a big one. And I'm going to show you how they deal with subtasks in the migration process that Microsoft has offered. Folders. This is folders for lists. So one of the things that people wanted for Wunderlist for a long time was a way to organize their lists into folders. You can't do that now. That's been removed. Again, not quite sure why. I can hypothesize that because this is going to be so tightly integrated with Outlook and Office 365, that maybe OneNote plays a role. I don't know. And I can only hypothesize, but I think it has a lot of this will have to do with integrations. So I want to put that out there first and foremost. File attachments. That's huge. I mean, to be able to, if you want to review a PDF or review something and you can't attach a file, that's a big deal. Now, again, maybe you can attach URLs, which is great. So you can put URLs in the comments and maybe use Dropbox or OneDrive or Google Drive or Box or whatever you want to use, but not have the ability to attach files directly to a task. That's something that I know Wunderlist users are already clamoring about. Working on tasks collaboratively is another one that's missing. So, I mean, when we were doing the Task Apps Made Easy course, we focused on tools that would work for teams, not just the individuals and teams. So that's why the four task apps we chose made the cut. A tool like OmniFocus, which is for the Mac only, iOS and Mac only, it doesn't really have team collaboration, so it didn't make the cut. Very popular to-do list app, very popular task management tool, didn't make the cut. To do at this point doesn't make the cut because it doesn't have collaborative lists, collaborative tasks, emailing tasks. So you could email tasks to your Wunderlist email address. Can't do that in To Do. Again, I'm sure it's going to be integrated with Outlook tasks, so that's probably why. But still, starring of tasks. So a lot of people do this in Wunderlist when they want to highlight a task or put it in top priority. Sure, I think some of the workarounds in this you'll see here when I show you what To Do looks like now. But to be able to quickly star tasks, this is something that people do in email. They flag or they star in Gmail or whatever. Missing that, it's not a big deal, but it's missing it. And the calendar feed, a lot of people, I am not one of them, but a lot of people like to see their tasks in their calendar. That doesn't happen here with To Do. And there's several more. And you could look online, and if you want to send me an email at the end, I can even list more things that are not there. Now, let me be clear. I know that To Do is in preview right now. So this is not about, this is not about what To Do is going to look like in the future. I know they're going to make some changes. I know that they're going to add some things. But when? That's a big thing. When? When is that going to happen? And is it going to be soon enough for the users to be able to deal with this? I also want to be clear that if any of these other apps that I've used were doing the same thing, if they were acquired and they were sunsetting, I would be doing a similar webinar right now for them. So if Todoist was shuttering, which they've said they aren't going to, they said they will never be acquired. Again, I say never in a lot of cases. I mean, we've seen, Evernote, if Evernote was sunsetting, I'd do the same. If Trello was sunsetting, if Asana was like any of these, I would be doing this. So this is not me picking on Wunderlist. It may seem that way. It's not. My job, my mandate with this webinar and with any of these is to help you get into a tool that you can get into with less friction so you can keep moving forward despite what might be happening with your current app of choice. All right. So let's compare them anyway. So I'm going to get out of this and I'm going to stop sharing this screen. So let me take a look and see what we've got in the chat before we start to compare. All right. Let's see. So there is a map. So I'm going to go way back here. SOS. So which apps have been covered so far? I haven't covered any of the apps so far, Jeff. So Bruce is saying there is a macOS app called To Do by Appigo, and I have a feeling that Microsoft might be talking to them. Who knows? OmniFocus is very expensive, Rob. You're absolutely right. And only macOS and iOS. And Louisa, you're right. Definitely. I'm going to answer this question, a couple of these questions before I jump into sharing here. So Chris said, on a personal level, I shared many Wunderlist lists with my wife. I'm more technical than my wife, but Wunderlist worked for her and our list. Looking for similar product for this purpose. I think we'll be able to find one for you today, or at least start you down that path. Okay, Chris? So thanks for that. Chuck, the clean interface of To Do and the quick sync is something that Wunderlist had, and they've carried it over. Absolutely. Very near real time. You're going to see that here in a second too, including the migration. So there are some positives, make no mistake, but I don't know. You got to exchange feature set, and Chuck, Surface is available. I'm not surprised. I don't have a Surface. I figured it would be because it is a Microsoft product. But thanks for clarifying that for me. All right, so I want to share my. Let's see if I can do this really quickly. So we are going to share I think it's this. So we're going to do this, and then we're going to go to this. Oh, so we'll go to full screen, and then I'm going to, all right. So here is Wunderlist. And if you have any problems seeing this, just let me know. But it is full screen, so you should be able to see everything. So this is what Wunderlist looks like. So you can see there's this, and again, it's bare bones for me. You can see there's a list, a folder list. You can see some stuff in there. There's probably some overdue items. Actually, I took a lot of the due dates out. So you could see things like in this one, there's an attachment here, things like that. Evernote Made Easy is there. That's a tool. There's this, which has some stuff. There's starred tasks right there. I just want you to take a look at this. And by the way, you can see it's been last synced 38 minutes ago. Very quick. So this is what Wunderlist looks like. Again, very, very nice and clean. If I go, this is my inbox. If I was going to go to starred tasks, I can see them all. I can go to my week. I can look at another list here. I've got tags, all that stuff. So I could do all that. I could share all that stuff. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to go to Microsoft To Do. Now, this is what To Do looks like right now. So To Do looks like this. You can create new lists, which is great. So I'll just call this new list. Oops, new list. A nice background, but I can rename it. I can change the theme. Can't share anything in it. Can't do anything. If I add a to-do to it, let's just add a to-do. Call it try to share this task. I could put in sharing and then hit enter. Enter will do it. And it's there. So it does do the tag. Now, if I want to share this, it's not giving me any options to do it. I can add it to my day, which is a really cool feature, right? So if these are things that I want to do for the day, I can remove it. I can add a due date. So I could say it's today, and it would automatically add it to my day. If I removed it, actually, let's do this again. So if I actually add the due date for today, it doesn't add it to my day unless I do that. Okay, so you can kind of customize. That's one personalization component, I suppose. But you could change, and there are recurring. I know someone said there's no recurring tasks, but that's not true. So you can do repeating tasks, and you can do them like this, and you can do custom. So there's that in there. But I can't add attachments. I can't do any of that stuff. Okay. There's no view of the week. So again, there's some bare bones stuff here, but I want to go into, and you can see here, like rename. I could sort it. So there is that stuff there. And I think my day basically is a replacement for starring for a lot of people. So that might be one way you want to do. Now, Microsoft has this importing tool. You can see it's right here, import.todo.microsoft.com. So I have, and I think this is pretty cool because Todoist did this as well. Todoist actually has an importer that allows you to bring Wunderlist tasks, and I'll get to that in a second. But I want to import stuff from Wunderlist. So if I click on it, it's going to ask me what I want to bring in. So I can choose all of them. I could choose no. I'm going to select all of them, and it's going to import the selected. Now, look what it says about subtasks. How do you want subtasks imported? Subtasks aren't currently a part of To-Do. We don't want to leave them behind, though, so we've come up with a couple of ways for you to access your subtasks. Choose the option that suits you best. Now, most people would, if you're going to do this, if you're going to stick around, I would not make them as a note on the to-do because they're going to get lost in the shuffle. I would make them as individual to-do. And here's what I would do. Before you import it, so next time, and if you're going to import it, I would find the subtasks that you have, if any, and put them in and create the label or the tag subtasks. So that way it has that label, that tag that comes across, so you can at least find the subtasks. So there's that. That's one way to do it. But you can see it's importing fairly quickly. Now, if I go to do, there it is. It's there. It's all there. But notice, like all of it, like over here, I have buildings. That was as a group, not here. So I would have to figure out a way to group these in some manner of speaking or not. I might have to rename it So I'd have to go here and rename it like buildings table 1 if that's what you want to do, or I could add, and I should be able to do this all with 1. If I hit control, see, and again, I can't see, and this is something I would love to see. I can't create a multiple tag. I know that's a very advanced thing, but if I wanted to add this tag, I would do this. That's the other option. So if it's a buildings, then you do that. And then, of course, you can search by tags and stuff like that. So there's a bunch of ways. But you can see it's missing some stuff. Now, where are the starred tasks? Well, I had 1 starred task here, which is finish roofing repair. So there's that. That's done. Let's look at roofing repair. Can I find it? Where is it? Right there. So let's go with right here, roofing. So not starred, but you might want to do this. You might want to create a reminder, or better still, to my day. Now, if things are done, and there's a reminder, there's all the done stuff that you've done. So it actually gives you the intelligent suggestions, which is kind of neat. So, but I got to say, like, no week to compare, no sharing. There's a lot of stuff missing. So that is how you migrate. This is a quick look at the web-based app of To-Do. And again, it's still in preview. You also need to have a Microsoft account, not an Office 365 one, but a Microsoft account to make it work. So there's that to consider. All right. We've got some people that are having issues with the video. Lisa, if you're in the, you need to use a Chrome browser with a desktop or laptop. Yes, Michael, this app is different from Todoist. To-Do is Microsoft's successor to Wunderlist. So we're going to go back, and I'm going to go back to my presentation to kind of give you a sense of what, so we're going to do screen share, what the apps that I suggest that you use are. So these are potential replacements for. So here we go. So we're going to compare these tools. We just did. But here are the 3 Wunderlist alternatives that I recommend. And again, if you have questions, please throw them in the chat. I'll get to them as soon as we're done this component. And I'll also throw them in the questions area. Okay. So here are the 3 Wunderlist alternatives I recommend. Now, there are only 3 here because we only have a certain period of time. I know everyone has their favorites, and I'll definitely address those in the questions and answer period, but I can only go over so many. There are tons of To-Do apps out there. We actually heard about one in the chat already called To-Do, which is made by Appigo, but there's so many options. So I want to give you these 3 alternatives. They shouldn't be surprising to you. And I want to just kind of show you how they would work. Okay. I'm not going to show you examples in real time of screen sharing, but I am going to show you what each of these things mean. And then we can always talk about this during the Q&A section. If you have suggestions, please put them in the chat for later, or I'll address them later. But I do have some that I didn't put through the matrix that I will also discuss. So here are the 3 top scoring apps in the SOS productivity tool matrix: Trello, Todoist, and Asana, in no particular order there. These are the 3 that I believe that if you were going to move away from Asana, or from Wunderlist rather, for simplicity, ownership, and scalability, these 3 are your best bets based on what I've tested and based on my use cases. So these are the 3: Trello, Todoist, and Asana. All right. Let's talk about moving from Wunderlist to Trello. And for those of you that are not familiar with Trello, Trello uses like the Agile or Kanban or kind of boards style of task management and project management. So it's a very visual, which is why a lot of people like it, which is reason why a lot of people like Wunderlist. You can share with it. You can share cards. You can mention people in cards and in checklists and in comments, and they'll see them. It's a truly collaborative environment. It has a bunch of things that you can do. So we're going to go over Trello in a little bit here. I'm going to show you how it works, and I'm going to show you a real case scenario of how it works with my podcasting workflow, which is the only thing I really use Trello for. But I will show you how it works. So the folders in Wunderlist. So those are the things I showed you that grouped all the projects together. Those could be your boards in Trello. Again, you might not want to use them that way, but they could be. So if you've got a board and it's related to, like, say, these buildings, and your board is just for buildings, you could use it that way. You could also use folders for projects, or forego them altogether, because the way projects work and lists work is that you could have them designed in a way that allows you to kind of have this workflow going where, it's kind of like the beginning and the end, kind of like what Agile does. And if you've studied Agile and Kanban, I'm not going to get into it too much here, but that would be one way to do it as well. So folders may not be useful for you here because of the way that Trello is laid out, but if you wanted to, that is one way you could migrate your folders into boards. Okay. Projects and Wunderlist are equal to lists in Trello. So I'll show you how this works, but lists are basically a column of cards that is listed, and that way you can see, okay, this is what this project is, and it can fall into there. You could use projects as cards, but you would lose the ability for subtasks, and we'll talk about that in a minute here. And that's something that a lot of Wunderlist users were missing. Tasks in Wunderlist are equal to cards in Trello. And only recently did Trello allow you to complete a card. And that was my biggest sticking point with Trello, is that a card couldn't go anywhere. You'd have to drag it to a list called complete or archive it. So cards are where the tasks can essentially live. If you want to use subtasks, which is what Wunderlist has the ability to use, To-Do does not. Subtasks in Wunderlist would be checklists in Trello. So you can have checklists where you can assign certain checklists to certain people. So there's that component. You can modify this if you want, and I'll show you how you can do that once we get in there. But tags for Wunderlist and labels for Trello, that's what they are. So tags, those hashtags that I use, those would be equal to labels in Trello, and Trello now has the ability to have unlimited labels. They've had that for a while, so that would be something that you could use. I'll do the walkthrough when I share my screen for Chrome in general, so that way you can see all three of them at the same time, so that way we're not jumping back and forth. I also want to be respectful of time too, so we're about 25 minutes to the top of the hour. So this is how you could move it. It's very simple, and if you have questions about it, we can go over it in the Q&A section. Moving from Wunderlist to Todoist. I use Todoist as my primary personal and professional task management application. I do not use it for Productivityist stuff. I use it for sharing projects with Productivityist coaching clients who want to use Todoist. I've also used Trello for that as well. And I use it for my personal and professional things because there is some scalability that the other option, Asana, offers that Todoist just doesn't have at that scale with that many people. By the way, Trello is free for the basic model of Trello, but there is Trello Gold, which has a fee, a monthly fee, or you can pay annually. So to move from Todoist to Wunderlist to Todoist, folders in Wunderlist would be equal to top level projects in Todoist. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, Todoist, you can go 4 layers deep with projects. So if you were going to sort in Wunderlist your folders under, say, again, that term buildings, then maybe the top level project in Todoist would be buildings, but then inside of that would be stable 1, stable 2, and those would be the lower level projects, which incidentally would be what they would be in Wunderlist. So this one actually transfers almost the same. The lingo is very similar. Projects in Wunderlist are projects in Todoist. Tasks in Wunderlist are tasks in Todoist. Subtasks in Wunderlist are subtasks in Todoist. And tags in Wunderlist are labels in Todoist. So much like Trello, they're called labels. The one thing that Todoist also has is priority flags, which of course you could probably say that To-Do has with the My Day, or Wunderlist has with the starring capability, but it's very different. And then Todoist also has filters, so that customization is there where you could say, I only want to see things in building project 1 that are due over the next 10 days that has the label high energy, and you could literally have it that granular if you wanted to. I'll show you that when I do the walkthrough as well. Todoist, in order to get all of the features, is a monthly fee. There's an annual fee as well, and you can pay annually. I think that's how you pay it. It's I'm going to say it's around $30 because I often get the conversion confused between US and Canadian dollars. It's well worth it for that amount of money. When you break it down, it's like $1 a day. Through the whole year, or not even $1 a day. It's ridiculous. $1 a day, it's just, I rely heavily on it and I really enjoy it. And incidentally, Todoist has made it easy to move. because they've got a free migration tool. So much like Microsoft built one that will allow you to bring Todoist tasks into Wunderlist. And I don't know which came first. I don't know if Todoist built it and then Microsoft saw it and said, "Oh, you know what? We're gonna do the same." Or if Todoist saw that Wunderlist, Microsoft built one, and then they said, "Well, oh, hold on there. We're going to build one too." So the migration tool that Todoist offers is free, and they've talked about it on their social media and as well. So if you want to move from Wunderlist to Todoist, the migration is very, very easy to do. Trello, not so much, but there is a tool called TodoPort that allows you to move from, I believe, Trello, Asana, Reminders, Google Tasks, as well as Todoist. But it costs money. I believe it's $5 for a one-time transfer. To pay $5 and you get 24 hours to transfer, and you get one transfer. But I'll show you that when we look at Chrome here. Finally, this is the biggest. This is probably the most robust of the task management options that I'm sharing with you, because it's really a project management tool. But if you want to move from Wunderlist to Asana, first off, Asana is free for up to 15 people for all of the major features. You probably would only need that. So that's gonna save you money. And again, if you want to scale with a team of up to 15, you can. And if they're guests, then you have to have permissions, and then it does start to get a little bit costly. But I still don't pay I still have the free version of Asana. So, and I've been using it for years. I use it for productivity stuff. Folders in Wunderlist would be projects in Asana. Now, the cool thing about projects in Wunderlist and projects in Asana both is that Asana just recently introduced the ability to have boards or list-based projects. Now, you can't change a list-based project to a board-based project in Asana or vice versa, so you have to choose wisely at first. I don't know what the migration will do if you move from Wunderlist to Asana. I hypothesize, based on the fact that it's a third party, that it would turn the project into a list-based project, which is fine because that's what it is in Wunderlist anyway. But you can create Trello style or agile project boards in Asana now, as well as list-based ones. And again, Asana is so versatile that folders could be projects, or folders could be, projects could be projects, or again, if you don't want to use subtasks, then tasks could be projects. There's lots of different ways around it. Tasks in Wunderlist or tasks in Asana at its basic level. Subtasks in Wunderlist or subtasks in Asana. And tags in Wunderlist are tags in Asana. So pretty much the only difference is the folders option. Now, you could, if you wanted to, folders in Wunderlist could be equal to a team because you have multiple teams in Asana. But that might get a bit too unwieldy. It depends on how many folders you're using in Wunderlist. So I think that those are things to consider. All right. So there's other alternatives that I want to go to before I jump back to the Google Chrome to show you the three alternatives that I did mention. But there are three that I've yet to score on the SOS matrix that I think are worth looking at. TickTick is one I'm hearing a lot more about. Okay. I have not put it through the paces personally, but I'm going to, because there's a lot more people talking about it. AnyDo I have used, and it is another option. The reason that I like AnyDo is the calendar integration is one that people really like if that's what they want to do. And also it's a very clean interface. And another one that's been around longer than any of them, for as far as I know, and I'm fairly confident in that, is ToodleDo. That's another one. And it's very robust, has sharing components, all that stuff. So if none of the options I've given you appeal to you, or you've tried them and you didn't like them, these are other options you may want to look at. And if you're interested in me exploring those more and sharing them in a future webinar or a future video, let me know, and I'll happily do so, because my goal, again, the approach is more important than the app. I want to take the approaches and show you how you can use different productivity approaches in the app so you can keep moving things forward. Now, I will say that when we are talking about different applications and we talk about Microsoft acquiring Wunderlist, it's very important to note that Todoist has said they will never be acquired. Again, never say never, but that's what they've said. Asana has been around for a long time, continues to raise funding, and is very self-sufficient. Plus, Dustin Moskovitz and Justin Rosenstein, who are like the founders of Asana, they really believe in that product. I find it highly doubtful that Asana would be acquired or would sunset at this point anytime soon. Trello, on the other hand, I'm a little concerned about. I'm gonna jump back to talking to you guys now. So let's get out of there. Oh, hold on a second. One more thing. No, we're not going to do that. Well, we'll go with that in a second. And of course, I can't see my cursor, so we'll get to that in a second. So that's one more thing that I want to talk about. Trello was acquired by Atlassian earlier this year. Okay, which means that, and they've said that there's going to be no changes, and nothing's going to change. Everything's going to be the same. But I'm skeptical. Again, I'm not saying it's going to happen anytime soon, but I think it's important to know that Trello is no longer just Trello. Trello is owned by Atlassian. Okay. So if you're going to move to Trello, then you need to know that. Okay. And you need to be willing to understand that, you may need to move or want to move again down the line. So if you like that boards option, if you like the ability to move cards back and forth, which I'm going to show you in a second, you might want to look at Asana instead. You might, but I'm just pointing that out. Okay. One more thing. Someone's going to ask me, why not Evernote? Why wouldn't you consider Evernote to be a viable alternative? Because Evernote is not a task manager. It's not. It can be, you can, shoehorn task management into it if you want, but it does not have the features built in like reminders that are recurring project. It doesn't have that. It is great for information and resource management. I use it to house my ideas for my writing. I use it for research. I use it to clip things on the web that I want to see later. I use it for recipes. I do not use it for task management. I use it for checklists, and I link those checklists back to my task management app. So if I'm saying, hey, I want to put together a webinar, what's the checklist of things I need to do? Oh, that's in Evernote. Let me go look at that master checklist. So Evernote is a great part of your productivity gestalt or your workflow, but it is not a suitable replacement for Wunderlist. So I don't want you to jump to Evernote expecting that you're going to be able to use it. It doesn't scale. It scales for what it's used for, what it's meant to do. You can own it for what it's meant to be. You can personalize it like crazy. It's simple in a manner of speaking, because you can, again, it could be as powerful as as simple as you want it to be, but as powerful as you need it to be, but not for task management. Okay. All right. So let's get back to some of the questions before I jump in. All right. So let's take a look here. Yes, and we're going to talk about the different apps here right now. I'm gonna open up the different apps while we get ready to move into this. I've got about 10 minutes to give you a tour of these. So stay tuned. I will get to the questions here in a second. But right now I'm just opening up everything. All right. So let's take a look at the questions that we have here. So I'm going to end these because I think hopefully Lisa made it in. My task due dates did get important to MS To Do. They did. I will open To Do again. So I will show you that. I will get that to you in just a second. But I will confirm that with you in just a minute. So To Do, task apps made easy, household maintenance. I'm just taking a look right now really quickly. Yeah, the dates did get moved in, especially and even the completion ones, the things I completed. So yeah, one says tomorrow. Yeah, they definitely moved over. So that's important to note. All right. So thanks for that question. Thanks for that question, Lindsay. All right. So let's talk about and Wunderlist's dates did come into Todoist. Okay, that's great. Chris is already doing stuff. That's fantastic. Evernote's great for what it is. I don't think they'll ever have task management capabilities, Ellis. If they go down that road, I think the problem with Evernote right now is if they go down that road, then they're going to be even more diversified than they already are. I think they need to focus on the core product. And by adding task management to it, I think we've seen what's happened before with Evernote with trying to expand too much. And, I don't see that happening. Okay. Let's see here. Asana is web, iOS, Android. It's also Windows and Mac. It's web. But yeah, you can actually on the Mac. What's interesting is you can use a tool called Fluid that will actually make it a web-based or a native application. So thanks, Louisa, for that. All of them do. All three do sync with. They have calendar feeds, so they can sync with Google Calendar. All the three options I mentioned. Let's see what else we have here. Premium upgrade is $28.99 for Todoist. Yep. And they may not sell them. Todoist also does have an Apple Watch app. Yep, I have it right on here. All right, so let's take a look at some of the, I want to show you how each of these work, and I'm going to drag these around so that they're in the right order. And then we'll get to some serious questions here. All right, so let's do a screen share. We will go to sharing the entire screen. I will make the screen full screen here in a second. There we go. Now you don't see me. You'll see me here. Okay, so here's Trello. All right, so you're getting a behind the scenes look at people that are going to be on the show. So you might want to screenshot this. But here's an example. So I'm going to go to Kelsey Humphreys is the next guest. So you could see here that this is right now, this is a card. Okay, so this is what would be considered a task. And what you can see is there's descriptions here. There's a due date, and I can check that off when it's done. There are attachments that I can do. You can't do that in To-Do right now. I have checklists, which are the checklists that are inside of it. Okay, so these are subtasks, and then there's commentary. And notice that you can see you can comment with people and stuff. And I'll show you actually at the very bottom. I could say, hey, here it is. This is what you need. John, Mike, I need a quick thumbs up, et cetera, et cetera. So you can see all this stuff here. And there are some different labels I can add. I've got a bunch of them here. So again, those are kind of like my tags, and I can filter them that way if I want. There are power-ups that I can use. So there's share and more. So I can link to this card. I can print it. Lots of different things here. It's powerful. Make no mistake. Now, if I want to go to the calendar look, you'll see it here in a second. I can see it in a calendar, right? So this is how it looks on a calendar. I can kill this too, go back to the list view, but then I can also go to here. There's some filter cards. So if I want to see only things that have weekly episodes, it shows that. So there's a lot of I can see what's assigned to people, what's unassigned. There's these little filters here that are filters, which is kind of like what Todoist offers, but not quite the same way. There are subscribing. So I can subscribe to this board, which is where the calendar feed comes in. So I can link to this board, email to board settings, copy the board. There's a settings view there. I can allow new members. There's a lot under the hood with Trello for sure. But this is the look of it. This is what you see. Okay. If you want to have certain like you can sync it up with your calendar. I'm trying to find it in here. And of course, so link to this card, email for this card. I'll have to find it here, but there is a calendar feed. I just can't see it right now. And of course, now it's not. So you can see this is my workflow. And so when I'm done something, so for example, I recorded this episode today, this one with Damian Lupo. So I'm going to drag this, and I can drag it to I like to put it in between the due dates. So there it is. And now he's on his way to being able to. So John, this is John's list. This is my list. This is my list. So my project, John's project, Naya, who does the show notes project, and then Claire, my assistant, does the final touches. So that's Trello. So if you like this look, then this might be the way you want to go, and you can share it with a bunch of people. You can actually add attachments that make it so that they show them. So I'll do this really quickly. So if I want to attach something from my computer, I can do that. So let's say I'm going to attach, I'm going to look up his let's see here. Let's go to, I think it's under Damien. So he's 151. There's the public artwork. I'm going to attach it. Watch what happens. So it's going to upload it, but it also makes it like the cover art. So you could see like, there it is. And I can delete the cover art, which is, so there it is. That's what it shows up like, right? So I can say, hey, I want to remove the cover, or I want to delete it, which I probably want to do. So this is just added. It tells you how quickly you've added them too. So really interesting stuff. Trello is a viable option. And again, if you want to move things over, you can move things. Toodle-do is another option. I forgot about that one. $5 for 24 hours of unlimited access. So you can do it for as many of them as you want. I can't vouch for how reliable this is, but if you want to move stuff from Wunderlist to Trello, you could do that. All right, let's go to Todoist. Now, my Todoist is very busy right now. So let's take a look at how it would look. So here's my projects list, and you can see I can collapse them, right? So I'm going to look at my personal projects. There's 110 of them in there. And better budgeting, so I could do this. I can do all that stuff. I could see that. Let's go to labels. There's a bunch of labels here too. These are kind of like my tags, right? And you can color code them too. So if I've got all my time-based ones that are purple, and I can rename them and change them to whatever color I want. That's something that you really don't have. I love the cleanliness factor too, but here's the big thing, filters. So if I want to see, so today's Friday, I want to see what's Friday. There's nothing, hey, I got nothing to do today. Not true. Lots of stuff in here I need to revise. Saturday, here's some family stuff. So I could see, hey, here's everything. And this is based on my theme days that I use. I want to see everything that's family and 30 days. If I see something in here that, see, this says Thursday, I can quickly go, oh, no, that's not it. It's got intelligent auto scheduler, by the way, which is kind of neat. But I'm going to go to edit task, and I'm going to go every 3 weeks, starting, again, natural language, May 6th. And now it's a Saturday. So now I can see everything. By the way, Wunderlist does not have natural, or To-Do does not have natural language, whereas Wunderlist does. There's a lot under the hood here with Todoist, but to me, by far, it looks like it's the most, it definitely has the most in terms of simplicity and scalability and how it looks compared to say a Trello, which of course, as you saw, is very different. And then the next one, which is Asana, which is very, very different as well. Todoist is available for a wide variety of apps. It has the Karma score, which is kind of neat. So people could say, hey, you know, you have notifications here as well. There are different settings. Again, if I want to have a calendar feed, a project calendar, I can have a project calendar feed for every project if I want. I can create templates. I can email tasks to a particular project, sort by who's responsible, sort by priority. There are lots of interesting things, and these are all custom filters that I've created. Okay, so that's Todoist. Now let's look at Productivityist, and there's a lot of stuff here that you're going to see behind the hoods, but let's take a look at the playbook. So here is a board. Here is a list project. So this is what it says here. This is a list project. Okay. Now, if I want to go to a board project, this is what a board looks like. So a lot like Trello. So you can see, hey, here's all the stuff. And you can see ideation, so ideas we have, writing phase, editing phase, delivery phase, reworked for email, etc. I can also see the tasks that I need to do. So I could say, I only want to see my stuff. And I've got some stuff here that needs to be, some stuff was just migrated over and it hasn't been, the dates just haven't been changed yet. I should get in there and do that. I got some work to do after we're done here today, folks. But you can see there's a ton of projects here. And then if I was to go to, let's go to blog content workflow. And let's go to the next blog post I'm going to work on, which is how to be productive when you're sick and tired. So you can see here's write post. These are all the tasks inside of it. If I wanted to say, you know, go in here and create some subtasks, I could say, research energy levels. And again, I can assign that to me and I can put a date on it. So I want to do that by, notice how the whole, today's the 21st. I want to do that by the 24th. Okay. And now it's a subtask underneath that. So you could see that write post has one, and you could see that if I go there, there's going to be some subtasks. So by looking at it, oops, you could see that if it's got a little comment there, it means you've got some subtasks in there. And there's some tags, and you can file attach, and you can have harvest time tracking. And again, there's creating follow-up tasks. It's one of the more advanced ones that they've given me access to. Mark is waiting on, which is kind of a neat feature. You can heart things if you like them, things like that. And of course, again, if you've got a calendar thing, you could do that for a project. So if you go to the project phase, which is right here, there's a calendar right here, but also you could say, I want to create sync to my calendar. It'll ask you what calendar you want to sync it to, and that project syncs to it. And you could do it for Outlook or Google Calendar or whatever. So I don't want to spend too much more time diving into the specifics of each one of these. But these are all the ones that so if you're going to go in terms of simplicity, and what I would go Todoist first, then Trello probably. And then if you really want to scale things up, I would go into Asana. Okay. So that's a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot to dive into. And let's dive into some questions. All right. So first off, Blanca asks, hi, Mike, I'm really missing the folders in To-Do. Do you think Microsoft will add them eventually? Would the tags be a workaround until they do? Yep. I would say that I don't know if they're going to add them. but I do think that using tags is a workaround if that's what you want to do. So what I would do before you migrate is I would create tags that are related to the folders in Wunderlist and then migrate. So if you haven't migrated yet, then do that. Prepare for that. So anything that's starred, maybe put a, like, you know, again, use the tags that basically leverage the features that Wunderlist has right now. That's what I would do. Okay. If you haven't migrated yet, then do that. If you've already migrated, then you might as well just go in and do it in To-Do already. Okay. So that's what I would do. Thanks for the question, Blanca. I want to see a to-do today that is due tomorrow, so I remember to work on it. How is that done in Todoist? Okay. So in Todoist, if you want to see a to-do today that is due tomorrow, there in the to-do features, there is the inbox, there's the today, and then there's the next 7 days. So you could see next 7 days, it would show you all the things for the next 7 days. That's a filter that's automatically built in, Bruce. But if you want to create a custom filter, you could say tomorrow. And it's just, you could say, I want to see the stuff that's tomorrow. So you go into the filters and you look at the tomorrow filter, and you could do that. And to create the tomorrow filter, it's just you type in TOM in the query. And that shows you everything that's due tomorrow. If you want to see stuff that's overdue, then you type in OD, comma, TOM in the query. And you can see everything that's overdue. And you could do overdue, OD, comma, TOD, comma, space, TOM. And you can see everything that's overdue, due today, due tomorrow. The other easy way to see it is to go to the quick search at the top and just type in TOM, and it'll find that stuff. That would be the way to do it. Hopefully that answers your question. And my migration, so Lindsay, my migration guide showed folders as a top level feature of Wunderlist, but they also showed project. Okay, so Wunderlist. So when I talk about projects, I'm talking about the lists really. So projects is the folders were kind of, that's what the idea of the lists were, is it was to have things you're probably right. I should have called them lists instead of projects. But that's what they are. So the lists, sorry for the confusion there. Lists and Wunderlists are basically equal to projects in most of the other applications that are out there. Whereas the folders that lists can go into would be like top level, okay, or they'd be a way to organize them. If you're looking at it in terms of like, you know, kind of like how Evernote operates, where notebooks are like notebooks, and then notebook stacks are the way to organize notebooks. So yeah, thanks for correcting me on that. Yeah, so lists are what are basically the equivalent of projects in Wunderlist. At least that's how people are using it. I'm going to ask a quick question in the poll. I'm going to say, have you tried to do yet? And I would say yes. Oh, there we go. So I want you to answer this poll. You'll see it in, while you answer the question, you guys can go to the poll and let me know what you think. Todoist, when sharing a project with a user, does it share sub-projects and tasks? Chris, yes, it does. If you share a project with a user, it shares sub-projects and tasks that are inside. Let me rephrase that. When sharing a project with a user, it shares sub-tasks and subtasks, not sub-projects. So a top-level project is a project unto itself. A project in Todoist is a project, so that's its own thing. Tasks and subtasks that exist inside that project would be shared with everybody. Now, what's interesting is that if you are looking at your tasks for today and they're your tasks, you only see things that are assigned to you. And in Todoist, you can assign things to you or to anyone else that's sharing a project with you, or to no one. If it's assigned to no one, everyone sees it. Okay, so you see that, and you see ones that are assigned to you. Correction. If it's not assigned to you, it doesn't show up in the list of things that are on your list of things to do in filters, unless you have a filter that says, show me everything that's assigned to other people. And there's a custom filter for that Todoist has. So that, I hope that helps. So no sub-projects don't count. So the workaround for that is, if you've got a project that you want to share and you want tasks and subtasks, that's what I would use that for. Okay. Hope that helps, Chris. Rob, is Trello better for some things than for others in Asana? I would say yes. If a lot of companies are using Agile straight up, and that's what they want to use, and that's the Getting Things Done the Agile Way by J.D. Meyer. If that's how you do stuff, then Trello is better because there's no other way to organize them. That's first and foremost. Secondly, it does display the images and far better than Asana does. So if you want to look at, like, attachments in Asana just show up as attachments. in the list form. In the boards, they do show up as images, but Trello just looks nicer in that regard. So I think that if you are using Agile as your primary task management or project management methodology, then Trello is better for those things. It's also better for filtering in a lot of ways than Asana. It's easier to filter. So it's got a simplicity scale, that the SOS score, that's higher than Asana's, because to filter, you saw how you do it. So you could filter. And the great thing about filtering is the labels, this is about the personalization component, ownership. Labels don't have to be what I use. Labels could be people. Labels could be departments. Labels could be for projects if you really wanted to. And then each of the lists could be the departments that they're working on. Like, there's lots of different ways to modify. And that's what you want in a project or task manager. You want to be able to say, how does my brain operate? And how can I make the tool work for me? It's that old Thoreau quote, we men have become the tools of their tools. These three tools I mentioned, and any good task management tool, any good piece of software, it allows you to become the kind of the master. Right? You're able to say, this is how I want it to work. And the app goes, okay. But the problem is, it's funny, I was talking about this today. It's like, I was watching, and this is going to seem like a bit of a far-fetched metaphor, but I'm going to go with it anyway. I watched the movie Moana on the way back from the Philippines. And one of the moral of the story, or the theme of it, I'm not going to give you any spoilers, is that the main character, has a desire to do something that is more to her calling, but feels trapped to be doing what is expected of her, like what everybody else is doing. And that's often what apps can do, is they can say, hey, I know you want to do this, but this just isn't possible. Not because we can't make it possible, it's that we won't. And that's, again, my concern with a tool like To Do, is that all the freedom you had with Wunderlist may go away. It may not, and you may all be able to find a workaround, but as of right now, that freedom, that flexibility isn't there. So I think that's something to consider. Okay. Hope that answers your question, Rob. All right, let's look at the poll. So 64% of the people that have taken the poll, say it's almost 65, have said no, they have not tried To Do yet. 35% have, and now it's starting to scale a little bit. So I'll leave this poll open for a little bit. I'm going to create another poll though. So which of that's probably not the right way. Of the three alternatives I've mentioned, which is the most appealing based on what you know so far? So we'll go with, and we'll go in alphabetical order. Oh, Asana, Todoist, Trello. All right, let's check that poll out. So we got two polls running right now. So let's take a look at this. So things. All right, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back as far as I can to see where people are. So here we go. Wunderlist dates came into Todoist. Yeah, labels are a premium feature. Let's talk about Todoist. Okay, so people are. One of the things that came up is that, why am I paying just for labels to Todoist? You're not. If you pay the annual fee, you're getting the custom filters as well. You get a lot. I mean, those in and of itself, and it's not just. I don't call it a glorified reminders app. I think there's a lot more to it than that, for sure. I mean, I've been using it I've got many clients using it, large businesses actually using it, manufacturing firms, things like that. For the amount per year, $28.99 US, if you do the math, and I'll do it really quickly, $28.99 divided by 12 is $2.42 US per month. If you divide that by 30, that's 8 cents a day. I think your time's worth that. If especially if you can customize the filters so you can work through them the way that you really want to work, right? And the labels, I mean, you can. The problem with labels in Todoist, the way that if you just go with the basic, is you can't customize them. Same thing with filters. I think it's worth it. 8 cents a day over the course of a year. I think it's worth it. All right. Asana is not planning to develop a Mac app, Ashton. I think they're going to stay very much on the web-based platform. I have not heard anything to that effect. And Wunderlist is not gone yet. So you could save $10 per month for 3 months and your license is paid for. So that's good point, Lindsay, on what I just mentioned about Todoist. Things, I've used things. Things has gotten much better, but the problem with things for a lot of people, again, you don't collaborate. You can't really collaborate with others on it. That's one of the things I've always struggled with. The sync is much faster, but it took forever for the sync to get there. And a lot of people abandoned things for other tools such as OmniFocus in the interim. So, and $50 is a lot. And no PC version. It's Apple only, right? Louisa, yeah, I use Asana strictly for Productivityist stuff because it needs that kind of scale. I need to have that there. And I can throw things at it and it can sit there, as you can see, and we can deal with it when it needs to be dealt with. Todoist is my everyday kind of things. In fact, sometimes I will take things that might be in Asana and put them in Todoist just to be safe. I mean, there is some redundancy there for sure. Let's see. Yes, you should probably, Louisa, good point. I realized a while ago that I should probably pay for the app that runs my life. I just never needed any Wunderlist premium features. And no one really, I mean, again, I don't pay for Asana. Right? I don't pay for that. I don't pay for Slack right now. And we use Slack a lot. So there are tools there. Microsoft I will say that Microsoft To-Do looks really nice. It's starting to look clean. Okay. So I don't know. And Chuck, I don't know what their long-term model is for To-Do with regards to revenue. I think that it will be a value add to Outlook and 365. That's what I think. Because I think if it isn't, then people who were using Wunderlist, and the majority of Wunderlist users were free users, will abandon ship very quickly. Okay. That's what I believe, but I have no idea. Okay. When sharing a project, Chris, you asked me that. Okay. Again, Rob, I think that one of the things I will say about paying for software is that it helps the third-party developers and helps developers make things better. The reason apps disappear, the reason companies get acquired, is that people don't buy apps. They don't buy them, and there are some tools that you really want to have that. Sorry, I bumped my desk here. I get passionate about this. For that amount, you got to think about the trade-off for value versus how much is it worth to you to know, hey, this is what I need and want to do today. Like, what's my value? Will you buy a day planner, a printed? Remember before apps like this existed, you bought a day planner. A lot of people bought a day planner. They bought an agenda, right? So I think that there's some merit to this. I think that buying things are easy. I think it's something that people have to get their head around. Not everything can be free. To create a recurring task, you go into the in Todoist, Adam. You go to when you're entering the date, you just put every day, every weekday, every Tuesday, the third day of every month. If you hit the little question mark, it actually gives you options that you can enter for natural language to recur. And the cool thing is they've just added a filter that allows you to type in recurring tasks, either as a search or as a custom filter, and it shows you every task that's recurring. Okay. All right, let's see here. So for personal task lists, thanks Milosh for throwing that in there. And Evernote, yeah, there's a great example. I'm not too certain about the future of Evernote. I have a feeling, and I have no knowledge of this, I'm going to put this out there, that at some point it will be Evernote by Alphabet or Evernote by Google. That's what I think. Just my 2 cents there. No knowledge on insider knowledge on that at all. Just my prediction. And yeah, desktop-based software I would agree that can work. Hell, a lot of people are switching to analog tools. The rise of the daily planner, right? Like bullet journaling and all that stuff. It's out there. So I think some people are wanting that for personal stuff as well. That way they can disconnect from the stuff online. It was all the yeah, okay. And and yeah, exactly, Bruce. I don't think that's I mean, they're already using Google servers, so that to me. If there's any other, so Todoist was my first time. I don't want to pay it. Okay. And let's see here. I'm just gonna see if I miss anything else here. I think I got everything here that's in the chat. I will, if you have questions, then I'd love to see them in there. But I've got a question here. You seem to use Asana, Todoist, and Trello. Isn't that confusing? Haha, great question, Steve. Why not use one app that will handle your work and business? I love this question. Okay, number one, I'll tell you why I use Trello. Because my podcast producer wants to use Trello. That's the only reason I use it. Once Asana added boards, I'm ready to make the switch. In fact, I was. But we're in the middle of this cycle right now. We're actually going to be not recording episodes in in July and August. We take the summer off from recording because my kids are home. So I don't want to record episodes and tell my kids to keep it down while I'm doing that. At least not for, an entire day, because Wednesday is my audio video day. So what we're going to do is during that time, we might migrate everything to Asana. But right now it's kind of that if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality when it comes to Trello. And because the great thing, again, it's the approach over the app. So I know what each thing signifies. And so the intent of what we use Trello for is allows me to switch easily and my brain to go, okay. Like, for example, in Asana, I have a tag that's called Trello. And that means I go to Trello to do that thing. It's all under the podcasting project, which is managed. The administrative part is managed in Asana. Now, why do I use Todoist? Because I feel that Asana is, number one, it's too unwieldy for personal stuff. That's what I find. And secondly, there's some professional stuff that I don't necessarily want my team members to see that I want to work on in Todoist. And because I'm not paying for Asana, I'm not going to get that permissions thing that you get with Asana. So Todoist is good for that. Plus the location-based stuff is great. And the custom filters make it really easy to find things. In all honesty, I was using Todoist for everything for the longest time. And then Asana added the boards and added the to create follow-up and the creation of, you can create templates of almost anything. And most of my team contractors that I'm working with were more familiar with Asana than Todoist. So that put me over there. Now in Todoist, I have stuff that I have a tag that's called, or a label that's called Add Asana. And that tells me to go to Asana for stuff. So, yep, it seems like, why not use one app that'll handle your work and business? That's not, I'm a very big believer in intention plus attention. So Trello is where I go for podcast stuff. And because Wednesday is my audio video day, I go to Trello. That's where I go. For my deep work, I'm often in Todoist first, because that's my own personal stuff that I need to do deep work on. And my deep work day is Friday. And I check Asana. Asana opens up every day. Asana, the three tabs that open up on Chrome when I start are Todoist and Asana and Book Planner, because I'm working on a book. Those are the three that open up every single day. No other tabs. I've pinned them. That's the ones that open. So I know that may not be the way you want to work, but it works for me. And that's why I do it, Steve. So I like having that separation too of work, especially because I work from home. Work is work. Home is home. Company is company. Mike Vardy, the author, is Mike Vardy, the author. I like having that separation there. Hope that answers your question. All right. Let's see what else we have in here. Michael Hyatt, Nosby is a great tool. Rob, it is. I find it interesting that you also said that you didn't want to pay for something. I think if it's the same Rob. But Nosby is a great tool. Michael has built a fantastic, Michael Slavinsky has built a fantastic tool. I think it could work. In fact, I know it could work as a replacement for Wunderlist. And I know they've chimed in as soon as Wunderlist has made these changes. I think that I just didn't mention it because it's definitely, it's in that robust category like Asana. So I think if you don't like the look of Asana, then Nosby would be the way to go. Hope that helps. Yes, Lindsay, MS To Do is definitely better than Outlook Tasks. Far and away. So I will give Microsoft credit for this. And here's the other that they've put something in that will help them build something better, because it's been sorely lacking. Now, I will say Google doesn't have anything. They have Google Tasks. They have Google Keep. Google Keep really hasn't taken a lot of traction, although I'm probably going to have a webinar where we talk about that. I think we're having that in June, where someone who really uses Keep is going to dive into Keep, because I haven't spent a lot of time in there. But Google doesn't really have a task management application. So when I see a tool like Toodle-Do or TickTick come along and gain traction, I'm like, I wonder if Google is going to do something. Or, I mean, Apple's reminders, I mean, they're scaling it out, but it's still just called reminders. I mean, that name in and of itself doesn't really indicate power behind it. So the two big players don't have a dedicated task management app yet, or project manager. Wouldn't be at all surprised if they, that's why when I say Todoist they say they're never going to be acquired, I say never, right? Yeah, I cannot commit to Google for the unknown if they cancel the app. Yeah, Google Keep is for more notes. Yes, Google Keep is like a note. And that's when I said that I think Evernote will eventually become part of Google. I think that might be because Keep didn't work, or Keep isn't working as well, or it's not getting the traction they want. So, well, let's just bring something in that will, right? And Michael Hyatt has written some great stuff about Nosby for sure. Bruce, I really, thanks for, and that's the next question I'm going to ask. So let's go to the polls, and I'm going to close the first one. So we've got 56% would like Todoist, and I've got like on the blog Todoist. If you go to Productivityist, look up Todoist. There's some stuff there. I've also done a course for Skillshare, which I can actually throw. I'll throw that. I'll mention that to you guys in the follow-up emails that I'll send out. But if you go to Skillshare, and it's free if you have a premium membership, so it's not free per se. But I do a course on building productivity habits that stick. So let me see. I'll see if I can find that and get it into the chat, because I think that would be something that you might want to check out. It basically, I use Todoist in that tool, and it was, to be fair, it's a course that was kind of co-sponsored by Todoist, so they were really into it and having me do it. But I will drop that into the chat here really quickly, so that way you can, if you're interested and you haven't taken it yet, then you can give it a go. Let's see what else we have here. So I want to create another poll. I'm like, do you want me to do more webinars discussing apps/tools? Yes. I'm going to make it very simple. I'm going to do the Costco thing. It's either yes or no. Okay. Because I haven't done really any of that stuff in a while. So I try not to, like I said, I try not to talk about apps too much on the blog, because they are they can change so easily. So the webinars seem to be the best place for this to happen. It looks like everybody's interested in apps and tools. I also want to do more webinars in general. I'm thinking about doing a weekly or bi-weekly. So I'm going to put that in here. How frequent would you like me to do webinars? This will be easy. So weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. All right, and that's it. So I got lots of polls in there, guys. All right, so let's see if I can give you guys that link real quick. It's taken me a while to get to it. All right, so there is my there's the link. So if you want to take that Skillshare class, here's the link. So I believe that takes you right to that course. It might just take you right to my profile, but if you look up Mike Vardy there, you're going to find it. That course has over 15,000 students in it, and wow, and 96% approval rating. So there you have it. Ashton, you know what? Drop me an email. You're gonna my email is askmike@productivityist.com. Drop me an email and I'll send it off to the team at Asana. So email me that's my email. So drop me an email there. And yeah, the tools, they all have a niche. You need to pick one or two. Like, it's very tricky. Oscar, To-Do is really, they've come a long way too. That's that, like, with the number 2 DO. They've come a long way. So that's another option that I really didn't explore. But there's a lot of people that went from OmniFocus to To-Do, or from Todoist to To-Do. So if you're interested, To-Do is a really, really good thing to check out. Google Reader. Yeah, exactly. And Google, you can migrate. So we'll talk about a lot of these things in future sessions, and maybe I'll do a survey at some point and say, what do you want me to talk about? Which tool can best handle simple lists, like a list of titles of movies to watch? I will tell you, Workflowy you're right. That's a great one for that. But if you're already using Evernote, just create a checklist, call it Movies to See, or create a notebook called Movies to See, and then web clip them using the Evernote web clipper, which is what I do. And then as you see them, just delete the note. Right? That's one way to do it. And you can link to that, to the primary note in there. So you can't link to notebooks anymore, which really is kind of a pain, or it's not easy to do that. So what I did was I created a table of contents note in there, which you could do. I linked to that, And then in Todoist, I'm like, well, watch a movie, like, or movie for date night. And then I have that link there that does that. All of them sync. I would say that Todoist has the most syncing capability in terms of versatility, because you can sync by project, you can sync by by all of that stuff. So I think that would be the one that would be best for you in terms of reminders. Trello is not as good for that, and Asana, I think you'd be overwhelmed, because I think you would get almost everything on there. So if you're working with a team, you're going to see everything. But Todoist, I think, would be the one that would work. All right, let's take a look at the polls. Let's see. So Todoist was the clear-cut winner over the 3 alternatives that I mentioned. Everybody that answered the poll says they want me to do more webinars discussing apps and tools. And bi-weekly seems to be the how frequently you'd like me to do webinars, which is good, because that's about how often I'm thinking about doing them. Because weekly would be a lot, especially since I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live every week pretty soon too, starting in May. May is spring cleaning time. It's May Day. Now everyone's like going to load up weekly as we wrap up here. Does anyone have any other questions at all? Or if not, then we'll just wrap up. I think that I thought this was great. If you guys had a great time, just let me know in the chat. I'm seeing a lot of thanks there. I really appreciate it. Yes, no, not a book deal, Ken. This is one that I want to do on my own. I'll be talking more about it in the next few months for sure. Thanks everybody for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. I will let you all know when the next webinar is. It will probably be the first week in May. And I really, really am happy you guys got a lot out of this. And keep in mind that when I'm doing more webinars, some will be like, hey, there's an offer, but I want to do more like this too, where it's just like, thanks for coming. Hope you had a great time. And thanks to everyone for joining me. I will see you all. And until next time, remember to stop guessing and start going. Take care. Have a great weekend.